All right, folks, this is a quick run through of a talk I did at the Belfast Business Show, and it's full of techniques and hooks and tactics you can use to get your videos seen by more people and basically get the algorithms to do the hard work for you and push your video out so you get more exposure. So I'm going to play through a few video clips. We're not going to play the full thing. If you want to see the full thing, a copy of this presentation with the full video clips will be available in the link below this video, all being well. So let's get started. So the first question is, what is video really? Well, we can get technical about it, but really video is a storytelling tool. However, most B2B businesses don't utilize this really good power. This is a really good, funny example of what a lot of B2B marketing looks like, and you might be familiar with this.
We need to talk about your video. I'm gonna guess it starts with the earth rising, then eventually cuts to people crossing an intersection or walking through server rooms while voiceover drones about innovation. Better yet, does it have these notey things? How do I know? Because in B2B, pretty much everybody uses the same general ideas. And I put them in air quotes because they're not ideas, they're just what folks think is safe. The truth is, it's working for no one. They're just too scared to take risks and do something different. Except you. You know they don't write articles about the time a company played it safe. To stand out, you've got to be bold, take risks, and for Pete's sake, you need an original idea. You need Umo.
Huh. Thanks.
No problem.
So that sums it up really well, but this quote really sums it up for me. Many businesses treat video as just a visual tool to convey information, not as a medium for storytelling. They focus on features and technical details rather than engaging narratives that connect emotion with the audience. And that's a famous quote by ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT comes out with a lot of nonsense, but that, I have to say, I agree with in my 20 years of experience producing corporate videos. Why businesses fail with video? A reliance on corporate jargon. There's sometimes this idea that everybody knows what you know, even within your industry, but that's just simply not the case. You want to start as broad as possible, then go narrow, and then go niche. And your content really, in order to get out there and get seen by as many people as possible, really does need to speak and be understood easily by everybody. The more processing power people need to do to understand what you're saying, the quicker you're going to lose them. Overlooking creativity. This is where a lot of companies, they avoid humor, they avoid emotion, they kind of copy the competition, and they just don't look outside their sector. Ignoring the audience. Again, this is a bit similar to the first point, but you want to really think about that audience's pain points, not just what you want to sell. Again, it's that information tool aspect. It's what does this audience want? What value are you going to get out of this? Why would they watch this video in the first place? Many businesses give up far too soon. So there's an inconsistent effort in the way they produce content. They are producing a lot of content when they have an activation or a campaign, but they're not producing content in between. And therefore, they're not building that audience. The algorithms aren't building that trust. And consistency is key. Whether it's getting fit, whether it's starting a business, all these things, we all know that that's what drives results. It's the little tiny milestones that compound and build that interest. If we look at content in an attention economy, which is what we live in my opinion, content is that currency. And if you think of currency and you think about savings, for a long time, you're saving and saving money and not really much is happening. But then 20 years later, you have this compounding interest and you have a lot of saving that you can retire on. A really good example of this is someone called Mr. Beast, where if you haven't heard of him, don't worry, I was introduced to him 2 years ago by my son, and he was like, oh, I love Mr. Beast, have you heard of him? He was then on Joe Rogan, and obviously I got to hear of him then. This was 2.5 years ago, and back then he had about 126 million subscribers, not 1,000 million, and now he has 331. Ignoring the power of personalization. Personalization is really, really important. And we understand that a lot of businesses, business leaders don't want to go in front of the camera, but people connect with other people. They don't just connect with a faceless brand. There's a reason why Stephen Bartlett, Richard Branson, all these people, obviously the late Steve Jobs, and you've got Elon Musk. There's a reason why these people use their personal brand to promote their businesses. Failure to optimize for the platforms. There is a tendency to put out the same content on every platform. Maybe you'll change the ratio, maybe you'll add subtitles. You don't have to completely reinvent the content, but you do need to think about the psychological mindset of the audience on that platform. You know, LinkedIn, you're not going to post your honeymoon photos on LinkedIn. Well, you're unlikely to, at least. So you want to think about what is the mindset, why do people go to those platforms, and what kind of content will they resonate with? And tweak your content, especially at the start, to suit those platforms. There's a focus on logic over emotion. Again, that information delivering side of things. You're not actually using the full power of storytelling. You're thinking you have to constantly talk about your product or service and not think about that viewer wants to see your content as maybe a bit of distraction, entertainment, a bit of education, a way to get to know you before they make a buying decision. You know, building on that relationship online before you have that physical meeting person to person. How to succeed with video. Basically do the opposite. Ditch all the jargon, take risks, be creative, listen to your audience, be consistent, be personable, optimize for each platform, and use emotion. Easier said than done, but we have some tips to make that easier for you. Here's a quick video from the same UMalt guys in America where they highlight some of the funny B-roll that you probably see in every single corporate video.
Hey guys, I was thinking that could... Guys? Haha, very cute. You're in a boring corporate video. All right, come on guys. It's actually not that funny. Trace?
Okay, so we've all seen those videos. We're guilty of it too, don't get me wrong. And there's a time and place for that, but we want to use it sparingly. So why does story matter? Basically, if you have young children, you probably understand they're really great storytellers, but somewhere along the line, we kind of lose this ability to tell a story. It's like when we get older, it's like, no, you've got to be serious. You can't, you've got to just give people the facts. You know, if I took someone down to the pub and I talked to them casually off camera with over a pint, you would see a completely different side to them. They would express themselves and they would talk about anecdotes in a way that are really engaging to keep people's attention. And we seem to forget that that can also apply to B2B marketing. Because again, behind every B2B is a B2C. When we put on that suit, we think we all of a sudden become really logical and we're not thinking about decisions based on emotion, but we are. We do business with people we trust. We go on gut feeling. There's a reason why we like to work with people, and it may not always be because they're necessarily the best, but it's because we trust them more. So story is really important to convey that for businesses. But essentially, people don't buy products. They buy the stories attached to them. And this is a really quick video that highlights the importance of that.
Here's a powerful insight on storytelling. You see, objects that don't have a story to them are worthless to you. Like this pen, it's worthless to you. It's very valuable to me though, because it was given to me by my grandfather, who with it drew a watercolor which currently is hanging in the Buckingham Palace in England. And I treasure it. You see, now this object has value. To you a little bit, to me a lot. But I do this, and you think I'm a psychopath. Because the thing is that this story wasn't true, but I still created an emotional impact in you. An interesting thing with this is that the objects you have around you have all stories, and the greater the story is, the less you want to throw it away, apart from it. Remember this in sales, and remember this in any kind of pitching, that the story you attach to the object equals its absolute value. Like the Mona Lisa. It's just a story.
So your competition is not just the person down the road in your own sector or even further away in another country. It's actually these streaming channels. All the big players, but not just them. it includes these guys too. So you may have heard of some of these people. You got Zach King, does really cool special effects and really funny, quirky things where he basically flies off into a rocket or jumps into a toy car. You got The Rock, who obviously we all know, big Hollywood star. Jake Paul, who's a YouTuber turned boxer, probably a bit Marmite for a lot of people. You got PewDiePie, who's a gamer. Taylor Swift, Diary CEO, Stephen Bartlett, who is, you know, become quite polarizing now because he's so sort of everywhere. Cristiano Ronaldo basically set up his YouTube channel only a few months ago and has the fastest growing YouTube channel ever. Now he's got about 60 million subscribers, and he just announced that on Instagram, and they all went over to YouTube. Joe Rogan, most popular podcast in the world. Mr. Beast, as I mentioned earlier, and of course, if anyone's a parent and got a child under, say, the age of 10, they appreciate Cocomelon, probably saved their life. It's got 185 million subscribers. So YouTube alone has 500 hours of footage upload, not every day or, but every minute. And that's just YouTube. So how do you get people's attention? You want to catch their attention, you want to hold it, and then you want to engage them. You really need to get people to watch the full video. You can't just get them hooked on the first few seconds. But it's those first few seconds that are really, really important. In order to stop the scroll, you literally have 3 seconds, maybe 5 if you're lucky, before they're out of there. You need to be very clear on why they would want to watch your video and what the benefit is to them. The traditional story structure is not always best suited for social media. By traditional, you've got your start, middle and end, your 3-act structure. And then you've got the likes of your 7 steps, the hero's journey. If you've ever seen Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, The Hunger Games, The Matrix, Harry Potter, these are all the same story, but they're created in such a way they feel different, but they have almost exactly the same 7 steps. They're crafted slightly differently, so they feel like something different. This is what you want to do when it comes to creating hooks and creating your stories and using these frameworks. So the old paradigm was to make niche content for niche markets, but that isn't going to work because the algorithms are not going to show your content to only a niche audience, at least initially. Algorithms obviously want to keep people on their platform as long as possible. That's what they're designed to do. So your content needs to engage as many people as possible. The key is to create content that can be enjoyed and valued by anyone without losing the subtext that is important to your target audience. That's a quote by Brendan Kane, and he's got a free ebook called The Guide to Going Viral, which I'd highly recommend. So basically, follower counts no longer really matter. You could have 1 million subscribers and they will not necessarily see your content on these platforms unless it is following these rules of broad, narrow, niche in order to catch people's attention, hold their attention, and engage them. So your content will be pushed out by the algorithms to a small section. If it engages with that small testing section of a couple hundred people, they'll push it out further and further and further. It's basically like social proof. And any subject matter can go viral, but you basically need to bear this in mind when making your content. The likes of Mr. Beast here has got really good trust with the algorithms. He only produces content every couple of months, but he makes that content really, really high end and really, really detailed and puts as much value as he can in it. So within literally a few hours of him uploading content, millions of people will see it. Subscribers and non-subscribers alike will be like, here's Mr. Beast's new video. 98 million views within 2 weeks. So one of his best performing videos is the Squid Games video. And I think it has like 600 million views or something like that. So the algorithms trust him, and you have to build trust with the algorithms in order to be able to get out to as wide an audience as possible. So I've mentioned this before. You want to start broad, go narrow, then go niche. This is a framework that you can use in your videos immediately. So here's a quick diagram. You can stop and look at it in a bit more detail, but you basically have your initial hook. You get broad to capture that interest, and then you start to go narrow and niche. Here's a really good example of this. The $78 Tesla. So you've got a guy that's into finances, and the title of his video is How I Bought a Tesla for $78. Now that's broad. A lot of people will be interested in how he actually did that, because that sounds impossible. Then he goes narrow halfway through the video. He actually gets a Tesla and he goes through it in detail. So this is really for people that are maybe actually serious about buying the Tesla, or just really interested in maybe one day owning one. And then he goes really niche at the end. This is for his target audience who want to know about finance, or are actually really interested in how he did this in order to replicate themselves. And this probably has massive rewatch value as well. So he's getting multiple views from the same person. So delivering those insights, advice, and solutions is very relevant to that specific audience, and that's where he's going to get rewarded. So show me the hooks. The power of three. We're going to run through this really quickly. I've got lots of examples, but I'm aware of the time. I don't want to go too far over 20 minutes here. So the three core types of hooks. There's visual, text, and verbal. And all hooks rely on a phenomenon called the curiosity gap. And this is just essentially what we use in storytelling all the time. It's like the cliffhanger hook you'd see at the end of EastEnders or something like that. So it's a form of tension. It's like an open loop that you need to close. When you ask somebody a question, or they see something happen and they want to know what the resolution is going to be, you want to keep watching. So this curiosity gap is something that can just be text-based. So for marketers like yourself, it might be, here's why your marketing strategy is failing, but no one will tell you. Oh, okay, what is that? You know, you're curious as to find out what that might be, because it might help your business. Another wider one is, you won't believe what this entrepreneur did to double their revenue in 30 days. So again, that could be wide to anybody who wants to make more money, but then you could focus it down into specifically marketing, or type of marketing. It might be within food, it might be some other aspect of a sector that is relevant to the audience you're trying to attract. So you've probably seen this, but not actually realize what it is, and it's Pope in the pool. It can be as simple as somebody doing makeup while telling you a story in front of the camera. It's an action while complex information, or you could call it in a screenplay, exposition, is being delivered. Rather than just two people standing there, there's something happening at the same time. It's why there's a lot of walking and talking in the West Wing and things like that.
You realize that every video that you watch today is using this technique to keep you hooked. It's called Pope in the Pool, and I'm doing it right now. Pope in the Pool is used to trick your brain into listening to complex educational content by giving you something interesting to look at, like this. So basically, you come for the entertainment and you stay for the education. If you want to do this in your video...
Okay, so that's one example. The catch cut is another example where you're basically taking something that's already viral and you're attaching it to the start of your video, and then you're finishing the end of it. So for people that really want to go out there and do something different, this is a Nissan dealer in Houston, Texas.
Slide into our 199 specials on Centrals only here at Central Houston Nissan.
Hand transitions. These are really simple but effective. Sometimes you might see people cover the lens of the camera and then they're out in a new location. Or you can just do a flick.
Oh, got it.
This is the video we saw earlier.
He has a powerful insight on
the final result. This could be used for makeups. This is like grand designs where you show, you know, the before and after, or property ladder. And this is an example.
Can we all just take a moment of silence for this? Oh, the crunch. Oh, and again. The new, the improved 15-hour potato.
Is make videos about potatoes. She does all the recipes now, but she's now on This Morning. Like, just, she lost her job during COVID, and this is what she did, and now she's got millions of followers on TikTok. And another catch cut just for fun.
You ever feel attacked by salespeople? Not at Central Houston Nissan.
So we're not suggesting people do those kind of catch cuts. You can do catch cuts which aren't just as controversial. So you want to pick the right format. Think of formats a little bit like a structure that you can work within that's repeatable to add your hooks. So if you want to think about the format, it's like your narrative. So say your narrative is the tree. Your hooks are the decorations you hang on that tree. And this gives you a format you can work with. So you've got before and afters, for example. A transformation, a fitness result. And this guy also uses a click transition.
When I popped off, then your girl gave me just a...
The old
Spent
mystical.
hundreds of hours now trying all the AI tools that are coming out. Don't waste your time. Here are the top 5 AI tools I'm using right now.
You've got Man on the Street. You've probably seen this where people go and they ask people questions on the street.
All right, rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
What's your favorite color?
Shiny.
Do you have any pets?
Do plants count?
I think they do now.
So that's
Who
a
would you want
comedy.
to-
That's obviously set up, but people will do this for real as well. But more and more social media is being set up to look real. Definitely be aware of that. So the reaction of the viewer is the key to the Man on the Street. So what's the most important thing when it comes to formats? You want to focus on stuff that's repeatable. Do not focus on trends. People are not doing the ice bucket challenge anymore. It would look a bit weird if you did. So don't go on trends. They're fleeting and they're not evergreen. You want to master single format, and basically it's a license to print money. As I mentioned earlier, Poppy Cooks, all her videos are very similar. They're close-ups of potatoes. It's very emotive. Anything to do with food is a very emotionally charged thing to show. Find a format you're passionate about is the most important thing, because these do take a lot of time to work and produce. So we have Tanner Leatherstein. This is someone that Brendan Kane worked with. He was stuck on about 2,000 followers, and he had 26,000 views in this video, which is maybe one of his more higher viewed videos. That's not really that high on platforms like TikTok, and he wanted to get more engagement. He is an expert in all things leather, so he was critiquing certain bags like this Louis Vuitton bag.
Wait for the big reveal.
So it's very slow. I still don't know what the point of this
Here's
video
the
is. A lot of people have probably laughed by now.
$1,700
Then he puts in the
Vuitton bag
title
we
a little
bought.
bit too late, and now we still haven't seen the bag. It's slow, it's boring. His intent is right. He's tying it with the music, but it's just not right for the audience and what he's trying to achieve.
Not going to lie, this bag.
He worked, and I'm not sure how long it took, but it wasn't more than maybe 6 to 9 months. He worked very hard with Brendan, and he now has 10 million views on this video, and he has 1.1 million subscribers or followers on TikTok. And this is a subtle
Old
difference.
leather bags, are they worth it? I went to the
Starts
coat store
immediately
yesterday, and
with the
this
hook.
was the bag I loved the most. Sales associate told me this was made out of glow tan leather, and the inside
He's cutting up a
suede.
really expensive
But I have
bag.
my
People are
doubts.
wondering,
As we can
on a
see,
broad sense,
this
why
all
is this guy
fabric,
doing
not
this?
suede.
And the value is starting to be revealed as he goes out. And this is getting niche. This is where people who really maybe
My
want to buy
opinion,
this
about
bag or
6
understand how
feet
it's
of leather
made
to put
want
this
to know
bag together,
and
about
respect his
$5
opinion.
a foot, $30 for the leather. Insanely good brass accessories. They used a lot of them.
So here's some examples that we've done when it comes to effective storytelling for different brands. So this was for a blind company where they wanted videos. They could work different languages and different formats, GIFs, you name it, usually on silent. And this is to highlight how quick and easy their blinds were to put up. All you need
Box
was a
skylight
screwdriver.
blinds. No handy.
Then here's an example of a campaign for getting people to take action on climate change for DERA.
This is Dave,
So we start with something
one of our
a
local
little bit
climate
different.
heroes, who's
Ducks
doing his
crossing
bit
the road.
to help nature. We can all do
Here's an example of a factory tour. Instead of having your traditional factory tour,
to our
we
VR
had a
tour.
quirky presenter and a magic door.
Come on, don't be shy.
Then for a brand partnership with Whites and the launch of a new car, which was an electric car, we played on the idea of a big ego and man against machine.
Friggin' cars. That's right there. An apple. Go in the distance.
So
Here we
trying to make
are,
it
the
look
ultimate
real,
grudge match.
and then
Oh, steady.
add a bit of
What a lovely
personality to
bend.
the
It's
car.
almost like a shot from Top Gear.
And yes,
Joe likes
use a
it.
bit of Top
Mama
Gear and
Moonies.
things like that. Closing points. Successful content speaks two languages, one for the masses and one for the niche. Always keep this in mind. You've got to start broad, go narrow, then niche. Create content that makes people know, like, and trust you. It's not just there to sell your products or to make ads. There's a time and place for advertising, and ads still work when used correctly, but they have to be within the context of this organic content. Remember, even when you're paying for space, you're still trying to compete against organic. You're not going to promote a bad advert. You're not going to get anywhere with that. Don't just look at your own content, look at your competitors and outside your sector. While polished content helps, algorithms favor substance over style, so it doesn't need to be necessarily shot by a production company like ourselves. It can be shot on a mobile phone, but it's the actual story craft within that. Is it something your audience will want to watch? Is it something people will find valuable? Content that aligns with the algorithm priorities, attention, retention, engagement is naturally amplified. And finally, you want to at least entertain or educate, but ideally do both. And if you can, also inspire. If you can do all three things, your content is going to go to the moon, basically. So resources. Some good resources. Brendan Kane, his book, The Guide to Going Viral. Donald Miller, his book on building a story brand is really good. There's a lot of references in film and how they use it in film for you to be able to replicate it in your own brand. Rory Sutherland's brilliant. He's got a book called Alchemy. You'll see him a lot. Little short clips on the psychology of marketing. Michael Margoli, he's got his book on Story 10X, but again, if you search him on YouTube, you'll see lots of good podcasts with him. The Future is a really good resource for all things marketing. Think Media is a really good resource for all things when it comes to actually making content, buying the right cameras, how to set up a podcast. Really highly recommend it. And again, if you like this content, you want to see more, sign up to our blog. We produce content like this on a weekly basis to basically help you make better content and make it easier for you. And thanks for your time.